You are listening to Spotlight Sessions with Justin Bamforth. The program provides an inside look at the creative field through exclusive conversations with industry professionals. Every episode is recorded live each month in the Adobe Creative Career Discord. Check out the show links to learn more and join for free, or visit adobediscord.com and click on Adobe Creative Career. This episode was previously recorded before a live listening audience. This time we're in for a little bit of a different type of show. So tonight's guest, Jamie Victor, is not only a branding consultant, an art director, a graphic designer, an incredible musician, but he's also a full-time freelancer working in the field. And you can see right there, he has a presentation ready to rock. So this is for the first half of tonight's show, and it'll be power-packed with tips, insight, advice for those of you who may just be starting in freelance graphic design, or maybe you're doing it right now. But if you have a question, feel free to post it in the chat and we'll get to it for the second half. So without further ado, my friend Jamie Victor, the spotlight now on you.
Thanks, Justin. So guys, thanks for tuning in to this. I just put together a little slideshow thing. More or less, it's more or less like flashcards for me. I broke this down into a couple different areas, and I'm just going to kind of word vomit on you, and I'm going to try to make it quick so I can take any questions or anything. I mean, some of the stuff that I'm going to say is probably, might be just preaching to the choir kind of thing, but I try to think of some topics that would apply across the board to what I've learned in freelancing. But hopefully you guys can get something out of this. So this is a little bit about my background. I'm a branding consultant, art director, graphic designer. I've been doing this for 20 years. I work with brands of all sizes. I've helped create brand new brands and taken brands that have existed and helped to maintain them. I've done work for Microsoft, Everlast, Guitar Center, Comcast, Olympics, Welch, and even some rock stars. And I spent my career working in and out of ad agencies and design studios. About 10 years ago, I decided to go out on my own for the second time. The first time I picked a terrible time to do it. It was right after I left my job, is when the recession hit. And then I didn't have work for a while, so then I had to go back to working full time. I worked at a job for about 4 years. I couldn't stand it any longer, so I just left. And then the universe kind of pushed me in the right direction after that. So there's some career highlights. I was the interim creative director for 8 months at a quantitative financial trading firm called Susquehanna International Group. CD was out, creative director was out on maternity leave, and I filled in for her for 8 months. I was a senior design lead for the rebranding of Everlast Worldwide. I designed the logo, brand guidelines, and templates for all of their boxing packaging. And so my one passion, obviously, is art direction and design. My other passion is music, where I combine music and also my design skills, and design everything for both of the bands that I'm in. My strongest skill set lies in branding, logo design, corporate identity, brochures, posters, packaging, ad campaigns, and front-end web design. I'm neat, organized, and leave a positive, lasting impression at every agency I work with, full-time and freelance. I've even organized their closets, supplies, and basements. This little last paragraph is I've taken from my cover letter, which I try to entice people to want to hire me. These are a selection of some of the clients that I've done work for over the past 20 years and continuing to do work for. Some of them are old, some of them are new, but I just figured I'd show you guys this. You might not even know who half of these are, but you might get a sense from looking at them that I have experience in a broad range of clients. I'm also a musician, one band, so that on the left, that's me playing guitar. I play guitar, I write all the music, and I sing. And then on the right, I play bass and I sing harmony vocals in another band. It has nothing to do with art direction and graphic design. It's just what I love to do besides art direction and graphic design. So I figured I'd put that in there. So I broke this up into a couple different sections: tips and tricks and practical wisdom. There's a million things that could go in both of these areas, but I just tried to pick 5 for each just to keep it short and sweet. And since I've already talked for 15 minutes, I'm going to try to keep it moving here. So my first tip/trick is to never burn a bridge unless you've been burned. Throughout my career, I've worked with people that in full-time jobs that quite frankly, I couldn't stand. Were difficult people to work with. In some cases, they were toxic people, but you never know what's going to happen in the future. So even though, I may not get along with them, may not get along with, I've gotten along with everyone that I've worked with, but there's some people that are just, I'm sure you guys know, that are just, not the best partners. However, you never know what's going to happen down the line, because that person whether you're trying to get a full-time job or freelance client, that person could be the hiring manager, or it could be someone that you just look on LinkedIn to see, who do I know that works at this company? And oh, look, it's that person that I didn't necessarily like. However, I maintained a good relationship with them and I can use them to get in the door. So that's the one side of it. On the other side, I've worked with people that I needed to burn the bridge. So, a lot of times you go with your gut instinct and based on the experience of what you do, or how the project is going. And, I've gotten to the point in my career now where I only work with people that I want to work with. And anyone that's not worth my time, or if there's too many red flags that come up, I just cut them and I burn the bridge. So, not to start this off negatively, but this is just the first thing that came to my mind when I thought, what is the first thing that I should open with? And it's just, never burn a bridge unless it's deserving. Keep in touch with old colleagues. Justin, for example, now, Justin and I, we met in a working capacity, but over the years, Justin's become one of my best friends. However, if I never met Justin to begin with and didn't keep in touch with him, I wouldn't be talking to you guys tonight. So, Justin's like a little bit different kind of example, but I've kept in touch with professors from college. I've kept in touch with old bosses. And, every now and then I'll just reach out to them just to say, hey, how you doing? What's going on? Are you busy? Do you need help? And I've gotten a lot of work that way. So, just a little tip that, keep in touch with people that you like to work with, and people that you respect, and people that you want to work with again in the future, because you never know what lies ahead. Another one that's really big for me is to underpromise and overdeliver. So working in advertising agencies, typically what would happen is the account team would work with the client. The client would have an ask for a project that, might be outlandish and ridiculous. The account team promises that, yes, we can do this work for you. And then they would come to the creative department and say, hey, we need you to develop an entire ad campaign by tomorrow, or whatever it is. And you're like, what? And they're like, oh, well, that's not possible. Like, well, we already told them. So you need to do it. You need to figure it out. That's one of the many things that, working full time for ad agencies, things come up where I'm just like, what? This doesn't make sense. Why are we doing it this way? And usually the answer is, well, that's just the way it is. And I always thought, well, no, it doesn't have to be that way. And one of the things that I do working for myself is I like to underpromise and overdeliver. So I will set an expectation for the client where I give myself more than enough time to do something. 9 out of 10 times, they're okay with the timeline. And then I'll say something like, okay, I'm really busy right now. I won't be able to get to this for a couple weeks. And when we check in again, I'll have like 2 to 3 concepts for you to review. And then what I end up doing is making 5 concepts and delivering it a week early. And they're always surprised. Oh my goodness, I thought you were going to take, no, I worked extra hard, to get this to you earlier, trying to make a good impression, blah, blah, blah. And it always works out because it alleviates the stress on yourself, and it ends up making you look like the hero in the end. But it's kind of a trick because it's, you're setting yourself up for success rather than, oh my goodness, how am I going to get this done? Always try to raise your rate. This is something that I learned probably in the last few years. Some clients that I've been working with for a long time, I've never raised my rate because I'm not greedy. And also, I look at it like, if I have a low rate, or a rate that's, comparable to or less than if this client was supposed to go to an ad agency, I'm less money and you're getting the same quality work. So, some clients I've done work with for a decade, I've never raised my rate because I started off pretty well with them, and they keep giving me work. So why if it ain't broke, don't fix it. In other cases, I'll get the opportunity to work with new people that don't know what my rate is, and I just raise it every time. So let's say, for example, my rate's $100 an hour. Well, then I get referred to someone else who, oh, we loved working with Jamie. We're going to refer him to you. And then I get this new client, and they don't know what the rate is, or maybe they do, depending on what the situation is. But if my current rate is $100 an hour, when I talk to this new client, I'll say, oh, what is your rate? I'll say, it's $110 an hour. Oh, okay. Now my rate's $110 an hour, and I do work for them. I get another new client. What's your rate? It's 115. They don't know. And most times most times they say yeah, which is great, but it's also like, man, for all those years that I was only charging $50 an hour, I probably could have been making double the amount of money, but I was afraid that I was charging too much. But then working in ad agencies and helping put together new business proposals and things, I've seen what ad agencies charge for my time. So I'll look at it like, if an ad agency is charging $150 an hour for my time, I'm still doing the same amount of work. So I'll say $100 an hour. That's still plenty of money. And it saves them money, and it guarantees work for you. So that's just a little trick that I've learned last few years to, in a sense, give myself a raise. Last but not least in this section is be careful with Google Drive or any other kind of cloud server backup or cloud storage thing. Be careful with it. This presentation I'm giving you guys right now is not really a presentation, but I've been adding tips and tricks over the last 20 years to a Google Doc. And anytime I'd be working somewhere and I think of something, you know what, if someone fresh out of college could benefit from this, boom, I would type it and add it to my Google Doc. And I've had this Google Doc going forever. Then maybe this happened, I think it was like 5 years ago. I got the dreaded email from Google saying, your Google Drive is almost full. And I thought, oh no, what am I going to do? 100 gigabytes or whatever it is. I'm going to have to manually go through and delete all these emails. Oh, but no, Google offered this magical wizard to help delete. And it's, we're going to help you do this. Begin by deleting emails with large attachments. Oh, great. So I went through and I was just clicking away. This is great. This is great. This is great. Google was automatically figuring out what everything was taken up in my email. And after 10 minutes, boom, I got down to about 1 gigabyte. Great. Well, for some reason, all of my Google Docs also disappeared, which is ridiculous because aren't Google Docs separate from Gmail? Apparently not. And I got so trigger happy when I was clicking, yes, delete, delete, delete. It probably is my fault. It probably did say it in there somewhere. But why would that happen? And I lost it. I lost it. All of these notes that I've been keeping for decades, gone. So that it's just a little note that just whatever you're working on, if you consider it to be important, save some kind of backup to your computer. Just this week, I'm working with an ad agency that uses Google Slides for presentations. Oh, great. Everyone can jump in there at the same time. To me, that is complete insanity. They have one version that is alive on the internet that multiple people are working in at the same time, and there's no backup for it. So if somebody goes in there and screws up a file, it's gone. So it's funny because I've asked this agency a handful of times about, why do you guys do that? Like, what is your backups? And they just don't answer me because everything I do for this agency is through Slack. So, I'm typing and they just don't answer. I'm like, what would you guys do? And just this week, I was working on this slide deck presentation along with other art directors at the agency. And it just so happened that me and one of the art directors happened to, at the exact same moment, update images on the same slide. And just by chance, we both did it at the same time, and something very strange happened with the slide. And then I was like, I didn't create this slide deck, so I didn't know what was there previous. And I'm just like, oh my God. Like, and I know I didn't do it. And I'm like, undo, 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 undo. Well, you can only undo what you did on your side. So the other art director, she was moving things around and it wasn't undoing it. So then I had to go into Slack and be like, you guys, like, what just happened? And there's no backup version. So I don't know. I'm old school. I come from the days when, we saved everything on floppy disks and zip disks and everything. And I always save every version of old files of everything. You never know when the client is going to want to go back to version 2 after you've done 9 versions of something and, it's gone and you have to look back at an old PDF and then recreate from that. Like, just always back up your stuff. It doesn't take anything to create a new file. It's free, essentially. So there's my tip there. Second section is practical wisdom, which all this kind of is. First slide here, never say no unless you have to. I will take work on, because I never know where my next job is coming from. So I always say yes, almost to everything. Unless it's something that, is, which I'll get into later in this, unless it's something that turned out to be a mistake and then I just pull out of it. But you never know what somebody might come to you and say, hey, I have this little job for you and it's sorry, that's all we have, but if you can help us out, and you just do a really good job on that. And then a lot of times you can get more work from it. This one client approached me and it was somebody that I really wanted to work with. And I've been trying to get in with them. And finally they responded to me and they're like, oh, we need you to create a set of icons. They're on the West Coast. So they're 3 hours later than me. It was a day that I worked for like 13, 14 hours straight. And I got this email from them and I was like, you know what? I'm just going to knock it out. So I just drank another cup of coffee and I knocked out this icon set, and they loved it and they were thrilled that I was able to, that I did it right then. And I'm still doing work for them to this day and they just keep giving me work. So, never say no unless you have to. Oh, also, you guys, if you ever, after I get through this, we're almost done here. I'm almost done with this. If you have any questions about any of this stuff, obviously ask me. I'm just trying to fly through this so I have more time to take on whatever you guys, want to know. Know your worth. Your time is valuable. Don't work for free. Don't do anything for free unless it's for your family. You could always barter. So if someone doesn't have the money for something and, okay, well, you know what? I can do this for you. What do you do? Oh, you do this. Well, if you can give me this and that, then I can do this for you. Now I've realized it doesn't always work out that way. Like maybe that person's job is, making envelopes and you're like, I don't need envelopes, but there's always something that you can get in exchange for your work. Don't work too far below your rate. If your rate, again, I'm just using this as an example, if your rate's $100 an hour and somebody comes to you with a project and they're like, oh, I really want to work with you, but I can only afford $50 an hour. Well, $50 an hour is still good. So depending on what the work is, I'll take the project. Take it. If your rate is $100 an hour and someone says, listen, I really want to work with you, but I can only afford $30 an hour. No, it's not worth your time. Or certain instances, somebody will come to me. I'll have been referred. Someone will have referred me to somebody, and then they look at my website and they see all the brands that I've done work for, and they're like, oh, I don't know if I can afford you. And I'm like, well, what is it that you need? Oh, well, I need a logo or I need a brochure. And I say, okay, well, how about what can you afford? Well, I was thinking about, $500. I'm like, okay, great. You're getting one option or maybe two. You're going to get, maybe 2 concepts. And then if I start working on the project and I really like it, then I'll go above and beyond it if I want to. But there's always a way to work with people that can't afford you, but you just don't ever want to stoop too far below your level, because next thing you know, you're burning hours and you're not getting paid for them. See what else I got here. Okay, so when coming up with a quote, because people will always ask me about that, I've been doing this for over 20 years and I still suck at estimating. I'm still not good at coming up with estimates for projects. So I like to work by the hour because I like to be honest. I could probably make a lot more money if I wasn't honest, but I believe in karma. And so, if I spend if I estimate that a project is going to take me 5 hours, and it only takes me 2, I bill for the 2 hours. I don't bill for the 5 hours. It's just how I like to do things. Um, on the flip side, um, you know, there's other ways. Sometimes people will say, we don't want to pay you by the hour. Just give us a number. How much do you think it's going to be? How much? And I'm always like, oh no. So when I first started freelancing and I reached out to other freelancers for advice, I got two pieces of advice that I use to this day. One was, take a look at the project, figure out what it is and how long it's going to take you, how much work it is, and figure out how much you want to make for that project, and then back engineer the hours for it. So I've done that. Like, okay, they want, all right, it's a landing page, but there's 10 separate links. Okay. Now I'm just making these numbers up, you guys, just for, for conversation's sake. But let's say, all right, this landing page, and be like, all right, well, that's going to take me, I don't know, it might take me 10 hours. It might take me 20 hours. All right. Let's say $3,000. All right. Then I'll take that number and figure out an hourly rate based on that. And so I'm still going to make, $3,000 unless I end up, working less for it. Another piece of advice that was given to me was, come up with a number that you think it's worth. Think that what you want to make, what your time is worth, and then push it up a little bit until it makes you just a little bit uncomfortable. And if it makes you just a little bit uncomfortable, that is the number that you should charge. And a lot of times when it comes to estimating projects and stuff, unless it's a nonprofit or something, I always freak out. Like, oh no, they're going to say no. I don't know. And most times they're just like, yeah, sure. They just approve it. So I could have been making so much money over the years. But just don't sell yourself short, basically. A client reached out to me recently that I had. They purported that they were going to have a lot of work for me, which people say all the time. That doesn't necessarily mean they're going to, but it's always positive to hear that. And so they're like, well, to start, we're going to give you some Microsoft Word documents that we need you to, stylize and templatize. And I have basic working knowledge in Microsoft Word. So I said, yeah, okay, I'll take it on. So they send me this project. They start me with a Word doc, and it's 50 pages. And I'm like, oh, okay. And it was, laid out terribly. I don't know how to set up style sheets and stuff in Word. I know how to make a template for, header, footer, text box, that kind of thing, but not styles. But I thought, you know what? I'll figure it out. Well, after 3 hours, I only got 8 pages done. And I thought, you know what? I'm not doing this. So I reached out to them and I said, listen, I started this document. Here you go. I'm not even going to charge you. You could just take it and run with it. I cannot do this. It'd make more sense for you to find somebody that has more experience in Word that can do this in less time, because honestly, I can't figure it out, and I didn't want to figure it out. On the flip side of that, or along the lines of that, when I first started working in advertising and I was an intern at an ad agency, they forced me to learn Microsoft PowerPoint because nobody else wanted to do it. And, it was my job, so I had to do it. And so I learned some basics in PowerPoint. But guess what? Nobody to this day, people still don't want to use PowerPoint. And there are other options like Keynote and Google Slides and things. But because I learned the basics in PowerPoint and nobody else wants to do it, I've gotten a lot of work just doing PowerPoint templates because nobody else wants to do it. So I would say, say if there's something like that you're like, nobody else wants to do it, and it's just a thing that keeps coming up, or whether, for freelance or full time, I say take the time to learn it because you could use that skill on your own. Okay. Stay organized. You'll thank yourself later. I've always been an organized person. It's just a trait. That's just how I was raised. It always amazes me when people have said to me, like, oh my God, you're creative and organized? That's so rare. And that always sounded insane to me because, part of what my job is organizing information. So how could you do that and be a disorganized person? Well, there's a lot of creative people that, that are like that. And I understand that organization is not easy for everyone. It doesn't come naturally, but anything that you could do to keep your files organized, well, you'll just save time. You'll thank yourself later. You will save your time in the future. So if you're making a Photoshop document and it has 35 layers, name the layers. I know you might be under the gun, oh, whatever. I'll remember what this is. Well, guess what? 3 years from now, you're not going to. And they're gonna pick up that old file and you're gonna be like, oh my God, what? What did I do? So take the time. It's real quick. Take the time. Name your layers and you'll thank yourself later. But also just in your file naming too. Just when you're organizing your files on your own computer, just keep them organized because it's just, you'll thank yourself later. Let's just leave it at that. Always proof your work. This is something that, we're always in a rush of, well, I am at least working in advertising. Ad agencies always want everything right now, right now, right now. And you hurry up, you finish the thing, and then you export the PDF and then you send it, and then they go, you missed this here, or this is still red, it should be blue, or and you're like, oh my God, what? And then you reopen it and like, oh my goodness, I missed that. So I've gotten in the habit of, before I attach the PDF to the email or to the Slack or wherever it's going, I always look at it in Acrobat and just take a second look at it. I'd say probably, let's say 3 out of 8 times, you're going to see something like, oh, look at that, I missed a period. Or oh, whoa, oh, look at that, the spacing is way off. Because, you're in the thick of it when you're working, and then you don't necessarily pay attention to the details. So just always proof your work before you send it out. Again, another thing that you'll thank yourself later, and you won't have to keep redoing things because you made little mistakes. Always expect the unexpected. So this is what I'm going to end on here for this, as far as this little presentation. Just to give a little story, I'll try to make this quick. I was my last full-time job. I, quite frankly, was miserable. I was working in a toxic environment and with people that just were lazy and didn't have ambition and didn't want to work. And I didn't want to leave that job and then get stuck in another job like that. So for the 4 years that I worked there, the first year was great. And then the 3 years after that, I spent looking for a new job. I used my vacation time to go on interviews. I would call out sick and then go work at another place for a couple days just to try it. And nothing seemed to be the right fit. And then finally, I had enough and I just quit. I didn't have another job lined up, but it just felt like the right thing to do. And when I was with my manager in the meeting, and he's like, well, what are you going to do now? And I said, honestly, I don't know. The future's uncertain, but I know for sure that if I stay here, what's certain is I'm going to continue to be miserable, and I can't be miserable anymore. So I'm done. So I quit, and then I went and sat at my desk, and I thought, okay, I did it. Now what? And then right then, I got an email for an amazing opportunity that I was recommended for from another colleague who couldn't take it because she was too busy. And so I applied for this job, and it was the job that I mentioned in the beginning of this presentation. When I worked for that, I was a creative director in a quantitative financial trading firm, and I met with the people, and they gave me a test project. I spent so much time on this test project. They didn't pay me. They just wanted to see if I could do the job. I did it, and I submitted it, and I didn't hear anything back. And a month went by, and I was so mad that I was like, I mean, it's become standard now that people just don't respond to you. Respect in society has taken a dramatic downfall. I mean, even in things such as like, I guess Instagram does it, but like Facebook Messenger, when someone reads your message and you can see they read it and they don't answer you, you're like, you know how this program works, right? Like, I saw that you read it. So same thing when you apply for jobs, and you take all that time to update your resume and you send your resume out, and people just don't respond. And you're like, you know what? If I didn't get the job, that's fine, but at least tell me. So I was really aggravated that I wasn't getting any word back. And so I just called. I called the people, and I caught them off guard. They were like, oh, Mr. Victor. And I'm like, yeah, just wondering, what's going on. I did, so much work for you guys. And they were like, oh, we're so sorry. We've been meaning to get back to you, but the person who is in charge, she's, we've been telling her that she needs to follow up with you and she just hasn't. If you want the job, it's yours. And meanwhile, I'm over here thinking, they just wrote me off and they just didn't follow up. Turns out I got the job and the person in charge just didn't follow up with me. I I followed up myself. They hired me, and it was the best job I ever had. And it only lasted for 8 months, but that job was amazing, and it gave me enough money to kind of set myself up to continue to freelance. And so now it's been like 10 years, and I'm still freelancing.
I just love some of your real world examples. I love your brutal honesty. You guys got to understand, like, Jamie and I, we go way back, but for as long as I can remember, he is upfront and honest, and he just will tell you the truth as it is. So if you have any burning questions that you want to ask about freelancing, this is the time. So let's get into some of these questions. One came here from Ronnie in the beginning. They said, is there anything you would have done differently in your career to get to or leading up to becoming an art director?
Here's how that happened. Actually, my first job, I was in the right place at the right time. And I was an intern at a very well established ad agency in Philadelphia, where a friend of mine that I went to school with, he was a little bit older than me, and he started working there, and he got me an internship there. And at that time, they had a lot of work come in right when I was interning, and when my internship ended, they offered me a position, and I started working. So I started there as an intern, then I became a production artist, and then I became graphic designer. And no matter what I did, I could not move up to art director. And so I asked the creative director, like, what do I need to do to become an art director? And he came from an advertising background, and he didn't really understand the way that I was taught. So he was trying to tell me that art direction is completely different than graphic design, which it's there are differences. But he's like, well, graphic design is just graphics, and art direction is conceptual thinking, and you would have to go back to school to learn how to be a conceptual thinker. And I'm like, what? No, the projects that I've done with you have been conceptual. What are you talking about? And no matter what, he just would not promote me. And I was getting really frustrated. And they were like, we'll pay for you to go back to school if you want. I'm like, I am not going back to school. Get out of here. And somehow my name got passed through the grapevine. And in Philadelphia, there aren't that many ad agencies. So it's a small circle. And so, chances are you'll work with the same people over and over again at different jobs over the years. And somehow my name got thrown around, and this other agency reached out to me, and they said, we're looking to hire an art director. We're interested, would you be interested? And it was very strange because I didn't apply. I didn't know that the job existed. And lo and behold, I interviewed for the job and I got it. And it just felt so good to tell my current job, yeah, I'm going to be an art director somewhere else. I tried to do it here and you guys wanted to send me back to school, but this other agency, sees my potential. I don't know why you don't. And, I took it from there.
And on that note, Ronnie also asked, what did you mean by conceptual thinking?
So graphic design as graphics versus a concept behind it. So let's say, this might not be the best example, but like the FedEx logo. All right, there's, everyone references this logo, but there's an arrow that's in the FedEx logo. That's very clever, and it's somewhat conceptual because it does tie into what they do. But it's more or less like a graphic treatment versus an ad campaign or a branding campaign where there's strategy that's involved, and a lot more conceptual thinking where the creative output, the combination of the words and the visual carries more of a message than just graphics, which just make things, look pretty.
Got it. Got it. Okay. This one comes from Mickey. She says, "Are unpaid test projects common when applying to a job?"
Yes and no. Well, so in my experience, I've only had to do it. Uh, I've won it under 5 times. Um, there's been sort of related. I mean, I tried to get in at a staffing firm, and part of the criteria was I had to take all these tests to prove that I knew the programs. And then I went in, I met with the owner, and I showed her my portfolio, and I was like, I made these with the Adobe programs, and she's like, okay, you don't need to take the test. However, yes, ad agencies will do free work all the time. It's called spec work, but I don't know if you guys are familiar with this, but an agency will get an RFP, request for proposal, from a potential client, and they'll want you to develop a whole campaign for something that they want, for free. And then you do all that work, and then you present it. And if they like what you did, great, you get the job, and the work is not necessarily all done, but it's started. But all the other agencies that did the same thing, that, took all that time to put the pitch together, while they're also trying to work free time, full time, and they didn't get picked. Well, that work they didn't get paid for. However, you could always put it in the recycle bin, and just something might come up in the future where, oh wow, this reminds me of that pitch that I did all that work for, and you might be able to reuse some of it.
Yeah, I'm so glad that you brought that up because you're right. In the ad agency environment, they do RFPs all the time, and it adds a lot of work what they do. All right, so this one comes from Curtis, and we kind of talked about this before because I actually touched base with you when I needed help creating doing a proposal, right? So let's get into a couple of things. Curtis asks, how do you go about creating a freelance contract? And I guess, how do you go about doing like a pitch to a client?
Yeah, that's great. And actually, that's a note. I'm glad you asked that, because that was a note that I scribbled on my note paper here, and I forgot to bring it up. So, depending on who the client is, if it's someone that I don't know from Adam, or someone that I've never met before, maybe I was referred to them, but I don't. You don't know if you can trust them. You're not sure. I have a contract, and I will put together a proposal. I have a template that I just version out and modify depending on what the needs are. And then what I'll do is I'll ask for 50% up front. So in those cases, I'll include what the hourly rate is, but depending what the initial project is, I'll come up with a number for what I think it's going to be. And I ask them to send me 50% up front. And I say, I will not start this project until I receive the money from you. And one, it guarantees that you're going to get some money, regardless of what happens with the project, because I've gotten screwed in the past without doing this contract thing and done work for people that I didn't get paid for. But it also shows to see if they're serious, because sometimes you do that and then, oh great, and then you never hear from them. So all right, you weren't really serious about the project, were you? Or I've gotten other clients where I've done that and they immediately send me the check, and I'm like, oh great, okay, cool. And then I get money up front, and then I start working on the project.
And part of the proposal that, or the advice that you gave me when pitching like a proposal, before you get to like an actual, well, it kind of ties into the contract, is what you did is you taught me to take their words and craft that into basically like a little PDF document where you're reiterating what they said, right? And you're giving them kind of like a little preview, kind of like what ad agencies do with the RFP, but not as extensive, right? You're giving them a little sample of what you'll do and maybe a little outline of what it'll look like, just to kind of like get them interested, right?
Yes, Justin. Yeah. Thank you for bringing that up. Yeah. So what I've learned to do, you guys, is I'll get on a call with someone who, oh hey, Mr. Victor, I heard that you're good at graphic design, or I want to, we want to. This is, I want to talk to you about this project. Okay. And the whole time that I'm on the phone with them, what I tend to do is I plug headphones into my cell phone, so I have my hands free still, and the whole time I'm on the phone, I'm writing down everything they say as quickly as I can. And then when I put the proposal together, I basically design their information. So one, it shows that you paid attention and you listened to what they're asking, but it also gives a sense of, oh, look, this guy knows how to organize information. The proposal looks great. And they're, oh, wow. But meanwhile, I'm only just reiterating back to them what they said. That's where the content comes from, is the notes from the call, and then from other proposals. Every time I do a proposal, I save them, and I'll go back and I'll take like the one time someone asked me to rebrand them, and I wrote a paragraph explaining the first thing that you do when you to rebrand is a logo, and the logo is the cornerstone of the brand. Everything comes from that. You start with the logo, and then you do some stationery. Even if you don't need stationery, you could do the stationery. Maybe it's a website, but then that starts to inform the type treatments and the colors and all of that. And I just saved that paragraph and I copied and pasted it into the new proposal. That's basically what I do.
How do you come up with a contract template to begin with? Like a practical step to making one? Maybe like the actual like language of the contract?
Yeah, I was very lucky. My mentor and professor from college, I've kept in touch with all these years, and I've done freelance work for him. And of course, I give him like a ridiculously low rate because I love him and I owe my career to him. So that's an example of, okay, I'm charging only a little bit of money, but I'm doing it because I love him and I want to help him. And so it's okay to me to not make money on it because I'm doing it to help him. But because I've maintained such a good relationship with him, and he also has a freelance business on the side, he had asked me if I had a contract one time, and I said no, and he just sent me his contract. And he said, "Here, just take it and just take my name out and put yours in." And I was like, "Oh my gosh, where did you get this?" He got it from somewhere online, or I think he Googled it or something and found a contract, and then he just took it from there. So if you Google design contract, just take it and just read it obviously first and cater it to what your specific needs. But that's where mine came from.
But what do you do to like skill up, to like stay up on trends and tools to be competitive, relevant in the marketplace? Do you get concerned with that at all?
So that's one of my weaknesses. I don't. I know that I should. I mean, I love video editing more than anything, and I've taught myself how to do it in iMovie, and I can make professional looking videos in iMovie using footage from cell phones. I've gotten really good at it. I figured out ways of hacking iMovie to make it look like it was made in a more expensive program. But then I got to a point where I'm like, I want to be able to do more in video editing. I know I can do it. And so I purchased Final Cut Pro. I bought it, I don't know how long ago. I spent $300 in this program. I have yet to open it. That's just how I am. I'm intimidated by things, news things. If someone will show me, I'm more than welcome to do. I will pay someone to sit with me and show me. Like, hey, I want to learn how to use Sketch, which is another program I can't stand. I'm glad that they're going to put it out of business. But I a lot, and a lot of it I've had to learn on the fly. Ad agency will hire me to help them, and then they give me Sketch, and I'm like, oh my god, I didn't learn this. So I got Sketch up on one screen and Google on the other screen and YouTube on the other screen, and I'm like, how do I change text in Sketch? And that's got me through a lot of a lot of tight situations. But yeah, I mean, I realize I'm giving this advice and I'm not following my own advice. But like I mentioned earlier about PowerPoint and Word, if there's a program that you can see the potential to get work from it and you don't know the program and you have the time, then by all means, take the time to do it. I'm really busy. Everyone is, but like I have so much going on in my life that I don't really take the time to up my skill set because I have everything else going on. But yeah, I mean, I would recommend to just learn it. There's Linda. There's what is it?
Oh yeah, yeah.
Skills. I don't even know if Linda's
Yes.
around anymore.
Yeah, Skillshare.
Skillshare, I think.
Yeah.
Yeah, and YouTube and Google. Oh my goodness. If we had that when we were growing up, I would probably be a doctor now. Like I can't believe how much you can learn by just typing into the internet. How do I do this?
Yeah, and Cass says that Linda is on LinkedIn Learning, and there's a Mickey says a Skillshare, Domestika, Udemy. So yeah, there's a lot of resources out there, but you don't get caught up so much like having to know and master everything, right? You just focus on what applies to you and your interests, correct?
Yes and no. I mean, I've had to learn how to do stuff like just on the fly. Uh, in the, I mean, it's funny. It's kind of a funny analogy. The way that I learned how to swim was we had a big party at my house when I was young, and we had a pool, and I didn't know how to swim, and my father threw me into the deep end of the pool in front
Oh
of my
my
whole
gosh.
family, and that's how I learned how to swim. And that's how I learned how to do things working in advertising, because everything it's always you're building the plane as it's flying, while you're flying it, and I just have to learn on the, like just yesterday working in that Google Slides thing. I've everything that I've learned from Google Slides, I've learned just here, Jamie, here's the Google Slides file. And I'm like, all right, I don't know how to, but I just figure it out. I always just figure it out. And if I can't, I hit people up. Do you know it? Does anybody know anything about Google Slides? But most instances, YouTube or Google are your best friends.
Yeah, that's true. I remember when you were trying to figure out Premiere and you contacted me and we had like a little crash course. So yeah, reach out to your network out there in chat. And if you're not an expert, find out who is, which one of your friends are, and then they can just show you how it works, give you a little crash course. All right, so this next question comes from Elizabeth, who's patiently waiting for this to be answered. I always ignore her questions during these, so just by accident, but this time I'm getting it in there. She asked, "What is the best trait or traits that you have that you think helped you land a role in art direction, or at least get started in freelancing?"
Um, I'm detail oriented. Um, I don't know. I mean, I feel weird talking about myself like this, but like I'm good at what I do. I hate to say it, but just from years of experience, just like anything, like people have said to me, like, "Oh my God, you're such a good guitar player." Well, yeah, I've been playing guitar for 30 years. I hope I'm good. Like same with graphic design, art direction. I've been doing it for so long, and just practice makes perfect. So I mean, that's like pretty much it. Yeah, and I pay attention and I ask a lot of questions. People are always afraid to ask questions because they feel like it makes them sound stupid. But I always ask as many questions as I can up front because I hate doing things over for no good reason. Like if I did something and I made a mistake, that's fine. But if it's because I wasn't given all the proper information up front, that is extremely annoying to me. So I will ask as many questions as possible up front, which always amazes me. Is someone will come and say, "Here, I need to design this. We need to design this." I'm like, okay, well, one, what is it? Two, what's the size? Three, what is it going to be used for? And then 9 out of 10 times they have the answers to those questions. Like, well, if you knew all this ahead of time, why didn't you just say it when you gave me the assignment? But most people are not like that, and you have to pull teeth.
Yeah, that's true. And side note, chat, Jamie is obsessed with details. I mean, no one else I know pays as much attention as Jamie does. And because of that, that rubbed off on me. So now I am like obsessed with things, because I learned it from him. So like you can never proof your stuff too much. Keep paying attention to all those little things. I'm telling you, it will pay off in the long run. It's paid off for Jamie. And a lot of his clients appreciate that level of detail. And this story is one of my favorites. It involves the Cookie Monster.
Oh, wow.
Could you share this? Because I
Oh,
think the audience would love it.
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, it's so funny though. I'm so detail oriented, right? Except as I'm looking at this slide that's up on the screen here, I'm annoyed at myself because this font, certain letters, it's my favorite font, Trade Gothic bold condensed 20, and it's the R and the T in art direction is not. There's too much space in there, and it's driving me nuts. I'm looking at it like, oh, I need to fix that. But anyway, okay, so I had a client So the one agency that I freelance for, the they a client came to them and they basically wanted, ad agency quality work, but they couldn't afford it. So they recommended me. And so I was, oh, great. So I start talking to this woman on the phone and finding out about the project. And, she says, I'm like, okay, well, I said, well, listen, I'd like to, actually, I don't think it was through the phone. I think it was through email. And I said, well, listen, I want to come meet you in person and talk to you about, because this is a big deal. And I really would like to meet you and, find out more about the project. And she said, okay, well, we can come to your house. I said, no, I can come to your house. And then whatever, back and forth. Where do you live? And at that time, I lived in Langhorne, Pennsylvania, which is right near Sesame Place. So she goes, oh, you're near Sesame Place. And I said, yeah. And she made some comment about the Cookie Monster. I can't remember the first comment, but it was something about the Cookie Monster. And I was like, oh, that's really funny. And that, she made this reference to it. So I was like, oh, okay, or something about being the Cookie Monster. So then we going back and forth through the email and we set up a meeting. And, she said, okay, we're going to go to her house and to meet with her and her husband to talk about this project. And she signs off the email, don't forget your Cookie Monster costume. And I thought, oh, you know what? I won't. So I called around to all these costume places trying to get a Cookie Monster costumes. I thought, how amazing would it be if I showed up in a Cookie Monster costume? So I it was so hard to find. I ended up calling like this place who knew about this other place, who knew about this guy, and then finally I found this one guy who only one man who had this Cookie Monster costume, and then I'd drive to his place and get it, and then I put the costume on, and I bought chocolate chip cookies, and then when I pulled up in their house and I got out of my car and I had the Cookie Monster costume on, they were floored. They couldn't believe that I did that. I couldn't believe that I did it either, because I was like, I've never worn a mascot costume before, but I did it, and they were like, you, before we even started talking about the work, we sat down, I took the big head off, and they were like, you got the job. So, like, you got it. I can't believe you actually did that. And I was like, oh, wow, okay. I hope I can design well for you. And it ended up working out.
Yeah, I remember that because, and I was trying to look for the photo too, because guys, he sent me this photo, but I couldn't find it. It's you in the Cookie Monster outfit. But I can't believe that you showed up at the client's house wearing this outfit. They were completely taken by surprise, but that helped you stand out and you landed the deal. I mean, it is just such a wacky approach to get in a client, but you kind of have to be that way, right? Because we're creative people. We need to think creatively. That could be the difference between landing the job and not. So don't be afraid to put it out there and, rent yourself a big blue furry fuzzy suit.
Yeah, anything like that it shows that you paid attention. I mean, that was more or less like a joke, and it had nothing to do with the business, but they couldn't believe that I did that. And I used it as an example. Like, look, this is the lengths that I'm willing to go to impress you. I can't wait for the opportunity to work with you guys, and I did, and it worked out well. But anything like that people, like back in the day, I don't even know if this is people still do this anymore. I would imagine so, but you send your resume out. Everyone sends resumes out, and you're like, how am I going to make myself stand out? And when I used to, hire people and, look at the resumes, first of all, if I see a spelling mistake on your resume, I don't care if you designed the Eiffel Tower, right in the trash. I throw people's resumes out because with the spelling mistake, because you're trying to be a designer and you have a spelling mistake. That means you're going to make a spelling mistake in my work. And, we're going to be billed for that, where it's going to, cost us money. But also people will make little creative things that just make them stand out. And those little things that people will put on their desk and look how cool this is. That helps you to stand out. So whether it's wearing a costume or, paying attention to the brand of the company that you're trying to get a job for, whatever it may be, any little things that you can do to help yourself stand out is worth it.
All right. So this one comes from Glow. Glow brings up some really interesting points here. Glow says, deciding to be a freelancer without having any clear plan for the future is very scary. Totally agree. And you got lucky with these, getting a job and, and all that at the same time when you quit, but that doesn't happen to everyone, right? So what should someone do to to start? I mean, how do you find clients and projects, apart from asking people, right? And doing all the networking, but how do you, let's say you've exhausted your network. What do you do? How do you find these clients?
Okay, so the first time that I became a freelancer, I had a very good job, and I had my dream job, and I also at that time had started a band, and it was a band that was just a whim Halloween costume, and it took off, and it just right place at the right time kind of thing, and all of a sudden. Being a rock star became a viable career option when it was just a Halloween costume. I mean, I've been a musician my whole life, but all of a sudden there was a potential to become, a full time musician and tour the world. And so I quit my job. I didn't have another job, but I thought I'm going to be a rock star. So screw it. So I went in. I actually had my employee review, and that company, some companies do this, not everyone. They'll give you a form to fill out ahead of time, like a self evaluation, and you fill it out. And then when you go in and you have your evaluation, you compare your notes with theirs. And I walked in empty handed, and they were like, "Oh, where's your evaluation?" And I was like, "Oh, well, I started filling it out, and then I just thought, no, I'm done." And they're like, "What?" Yeah, I'm done. I'm not doing this anymore. I'm going to be a rock star. And then the entire world fell apart. Like the band ended, my life got flipped, turned upside down, and then the recession hit, and I was like, "Oh no, oh, uh-oh, oh no." And so I didn't know what I was going to do. Like, oh no, no, no. So I had made a lot of contacts, and I reached out to everyone that I knew that worked in advertising. And luckily, there was a job opening, and I went and I interviewed for it, and I got the job. So again, yeah, there's definitely luck involved. But I believe and I'll explain. I'll answer your other questions. But in life, you need to take risks, and you have to, even though it's even if it's scary and you don't know what the future is going to be or what's going to happen, you have to do it. Like sometimes you just have to do it and make it work. You just make it work. I mean, I don't know what else to say really.
Yeah, it's kind of like survival, like when you're in that position where you have to make it work or you are
You will.
homeless, you will.
Yeah,
Yeah, exactly.
you will, and things will happen. About people that you haven't heard from in a long time will reach out to you, or people that you didn't even think to reach out to you reach out to and be like, "Oh my goodness, I can't believe I need a designer." The right way to do it is because I'm kind of crazy, so this is my experience. Not everyone's experience is going to work out this way, obviously, but wait, so I wanted to say like the right way to do it. But also, if you Google that, I send this to people all the time. This little picture where it says, it's I would show you guys, but I'm not going to bother looking for it right now. But it's an image that says your comfort zone, and it's written, and then there's an arrow that points outside your comfort zone, and it said where the magic happens, and that's so true. Okay, so all right, so how do you get clients? And so the right way to do it is, the smart way to do it. Again, I just got lucky, and I got lucky, and I guess I have good karma. Uh, the right way to do it is you have a full time job, you want to go freelance. Okay, start getting freelance clients. Keep your full time job and start building a bank of clients. And then when you have enough clients that it can support you at the bare minimum, at least pay your bills, then if you feel more secure doing it, that's the time to jump. There it is. Justin Banforth for the win. Yes, that's it. Um, yeah, that's what you want to do. So what I'm trying to do now is I'm trying to get clients that are willing to continue to pay me to do work on a retainer basis, as opposed to just projects here and there. So freelancing for ad agencies, I bust my butt for ad agencies because that's how I cut my teeth. It's extremely stressful, but if you can save the butt of an ad agency, they will love you forever. And so I've got ad agencies that just keep calling on me because I always save their butt. So I have a bank of them, but I also just been trying to get clients that are willing to keep me on for longer. How do you do that? Just reaching out, really. Uh, you know, the, and things have happened for me unplanned that have just been karmically amazing. Uh, this I'm trying to think. So one of my friends that I went to college with, actually, I've known him for a long, long time. He started his own ad agency. He worked in ad agencies for a while, and then he started his own thing, and they've become extremely successful. And I am so proud of him every day. It's amazing. And his partner is someone that I worked with at my first job, which is, again, it's very incestuous, the advertising world and design world in Philadelphia. Uh, but he there was a time when they were getting all this work, an influx of work, and they couldn't handle it all, so they started offloading it to me. And I got this one client. I started work with him. I hit it off with him right away. Really cool dude, very smart, and we just worked together really well from the get-go. And they gave me all this work, and then it just stopped, which is another thing that happens in freelance. It just stopped. And I'm like, oh no, oh no. So I keep hitting him up, like, hey, what's going on with these projects? They were all like up in the air. And he's, oh, we're waiting on feedback and blah blah blah. And then one day he texts me and he's like, hey, can I talk to you about something? And I'm like, oh no. I'm like, I thought I got in trouble. It came across as like being in trouble. And then I talked to him and he was like, yeah, so I'm really sorry. I really love working with you. And I want to give you more work. So I have another client that I freelance for and they need a designer. Would you be willing to, can I recommend you to them? I was like, yeah, sure, absolutely. And now they've become one of my main clients. Just like that, from just a recommendation. Now I'm doing stuff for them on a consistent basis. So it's that's there's definitely luck involved. And I'm also like I'm not religious, but I'm a spiritual person, and so I believe a lot in like, there's beliefs in karma and all that, and then there's paying your bills, and I understand that, but there's definitely I definitely have a balance from that. But like I treat others the way that I want to be treated. I'm honest with my billing and with my time. I do my best, and I do believe that there's something to that, and that I've been rewarded karmically, for that. Now, yeah, recession hits. What's karma going to do for you then? I don't know. And there's been times when I I have like, oh no, I don't have any work. Nobody's hiring. What am I going to do? Oh no. And then usually something always works out. I reach out to someone, and that ties back to, what I had earlier in here, like, keep in touch with your old colleagues. Keep in touch with people. Reach out to them. People you haven't talked to in years. You never know. I got a bunch of clients from somebody that was the head of PR at this ad agency that I worked with, that I remembered him, but not really. And maybe I helped him with a couple proposals. But out of nowhere, this one year, he recommended me to 5 different clients, and 2 of them I'm still doing work for. And I was just like, this guy, really? And then I called him up and I was like, I just really want to thank you for this. And he's like, you were so great to work with. And I'm thinking, I didn't really work with you, but I guess I made a good impression on him. So, always make a good impression.
Yeah, so it sounds like what I'm hearing is networking is really so crucial to navigating the feast and famine of freelancing, right?
It is and it isn't. I mean, I'm terrible at networking, I guess, using it in the context as I've been explaining it. Yes. Actually networking, I am terrible at, and I just don't like it, and I never saw the point in it. Like, I used to be a member of the AIGA, and they would have these networking events, and you would go to a bar with 50 other graphic designers where you're supposed to network, and I'm like, what am I getting out of this? Like, okay, yeah, you do what I want to, I do too. Oh, you also want to make money doing this. How is that helping? I don't understand. But that's how you get your name out there. And then what will tend to happen is if you hit it off with one of the other designers and you just on like a personal level, what may happen is they may have too much work and they can't do it. And so they'll reach out to you knowing that you can help them. I've had that happen more or less from people in other areas of expertise where they don't know graphic design. And so they'll reach out to me and, oh, Jamie, can you help me with this? Can you help me with that? Recently, one of my clients invited me to this event that I did all the graphics for. And as a thank you, they invited me to it and they said, oh, it's a great networking event. There's so many people in here that you can get work from. And I thought, oh, wonderful. So I go to this event. There's like 300 people there. And everyone's talking to each other. Everyone seemed to know each other. I'm terrible at that. Like, I'm not going to just interrupt someone's conversation to be like, "Hey, I'm Jamie. I'm a graphic designer. If you need graphic design," like, I'm terrible at selling myself. I know that I should be better at it, but it makes me like physically uncomfortable. So I sit down at my table and I see there's a bunch of people, and everyone has a name tag, and it says on there what they do and where they're from. And there was big name people, and I'm like, "All right, Jamie, now's the time." So I get up and I start talking to people, and one by one, oh, this is so great to me. Oh, we don't need graphic designers. We don't know. I'm like, okay. And then I'm talking to this one person and she's like, see that man sitting across from the table over there? Like, yeah, actually, he is the head of all of Ronald McDonald House. And they were the sponsor for the event. So if you can talk to him, he can definitely put you in touch with. And I thought, oh, wonderful. So he was already talking to someone. So I was just sitting there waiting for the right moment for me to interject. And so finally they stopped talking and I interject him and I introduce myself and he gets up and walks away. Great, great. I came to this event and I got zero out of it. But you got to keep trying.
Yeah, so it's better to attend events where it's not gonna be saturated with designers, right? That way you can kind of stand out.
Yeah, yeah.
What was your experience with AIGA? Is it worth it? Is it overrated? Is it underrated?
I mean, honestly, my my involvement with it was so long ago, and I don't even know how much different it would be now. I mean, a lot of I don't know, most of my former uh, colleagues and college professors and adjunct professors and stuff, they are all members of it. I know the head of the Philadelphia branch of the IGA. It's never gotten me any. This is just my personal experience, but I did not reap any rewards from it, but just coming at you, explaining full honesty, I also didn't participate. I went to a couple networking events where again, I'm like, how is this helping me? I'm in a I'm in a room with 30 other people that also do what I do. Like, are we going to get into a fight and the winner gets the work? Like, you know what I mean? Like, I didn't. To me, it wasn't worth my time. That's my experience, though. That's just me.
So you get out of it what you put into it in essence.
Yeah. Yes.
Okay. All right. So Glow asked this question, and this is really good question. Do you get to a point where there are periods where you get too many clients and too much work at the same time? And how do you deal with that?
I just I suffer through it because yeah, yes, absolutely. Which right now I'm on the verge of that actually. I make my own schedule. So I'm also a night owl and I get a lot more done at night than during the day when I'm being inundated with texts and emails and stuff. I'll stay up all night and do it because for me, yeah, again, like I had steady clients, but not not as many as I would like. So I say yes to work and I will just stay up and do it. I'll just like in college. I will make a pot of coffee and I will just stay up and I'll work 18-hour days for a week. But guess what? That making all that money and that it's kind of like I kind of look at it like kind of like a although it's not illegal, but like kind of like a pirate. Like I go in, I get that treasure chest, I work my butt off, I get that treasure chest, and then then in the future when there isn't any work, I worked really hard, so now I'm okay for times and periods when there isn't work.
But I just want to remind the audience, even you had to begin somewhere, right? You were just starting out. And I remember that day specifically when you left your job, the one that was toxic. And I remember you were getting really nervous. And we had a conversation at the diner, and you were like, Justin, I don't know where I'm going to get my next paycheck from. I'm running really, really low now on my funds. I don't know what's going to happen. But yet you just trusted the process. And sure enough, one thing just happened and it led to another thing and it led to another thing. So there's a little bit of patience that you have to have in this field, and tenacity, and just
Yeah.
reminding yourself, don't give up. If anything, use this moment of adversity as a moment of opportunity, right?
Yes.
Because the strongest people have emerged in the toughest of times. We see that all throughout human history. When their back is against the wall, that's when the best work comes out. So don't give up out there. So, for those of you listening,
Absolutely, Justin. I'm glad you brought that up. Very well said. Also, I mean, I would not. Uh, the thing is, I went freelance, but after working for years in advertising full-time jobs, I didn't just decide, oh, I'm just going to be a freelancer. And I mean, in essence, I did. But what I mean is, freelancing is not something that you graduate from college and decide, oh, I'm going to be a freelancer. Like it doesn't work that way, unless things happen. There could be an opportunity here and there, but because of all of the stuff that I've learned and all of the years that I've worked, I was prepared for this.
Elizabeth phrased it perfectly. Becoming a freelancer was a big decision for you, but it was because you had that prior experience that it was easier to transition to that full time.
Yes, 100% correct. Yes. Yep.
And Elizabeth asked this question too, because I know a lot of our audience are big fans of art and design books, right? They're always asking about, hey, is there any like recommended reading, And I know you do read a lot.
I used to. I used to. I used to love going to the design section of the Barnes and Noble, or discount bookstores. I there was a discount bookstore that was up in Reading, Pennsylvania. It's not there anymore, but I used to look forward to going there to getting the design books for cheap. And I used to get all the annuals and communication arts and graphiques and all of that. And to be honest, I don't even know if they exist anymore. Like I don't know. Um, I, so no, I mean there are. I'm the wrong person to ask about that, I guess. I mean, I still have some books from back in the day that I refer to here and there, like an Art Chantry. I have an Art Chantry book, a David Carson book, like old school books like that I'll look at once in a while for inspiration. But for the most part, I use. If you guys, oh my goodness, if you're not aware of this, I'll type this in here. Let's see, design inspiration.com. This website has saved me so many times. It is basically a Pinterest for whoever made this site looked at Pinterest and was like, I'm going to make this site, but for graphic design. And it's just like Pinterest, but it's a plethora of inspiration. You go to that website and you type in, you're coming up with a logo, or you're looking for some kind of unique type treatment, or you're working with something that involves mixed media, or whatever. You type it into that search bar and a zillion things will come up. And it's got me through a lot of tough times where I've just been burning, what am I trying to, like running in circles, and I've gone to that site and yeah, that's a great one.
Wow. Yeah, that is a good one. I never heard of this one before. So I'm bookmarking this as well. This is great. What about, okay, so let's also switch gears to like, mental health, right? Because that's a huge, huge part of, staying positive as a designer, right? And also taking care of your physical health too. Like when you are super stressed out, or when you're super burned out, or you're just frazzled, you got to get away from this. What do you do? How do you maintain your sanity?
I sleep as much as I can, and I go for walks, or I take breaks from the computer. That helps a lot. It'll help a lot. It's, going for a walk. Well, you could be so mad. Oh man, I've been so mad certain days. And then I'm just like, you know what? I'm just going to go for a walk. And I go for a little walk outside, 15, 20 minutes, half an hour. And I come back and it helps kind of like let the steam go. And also like, yes, sleep. I'm a big sleeper. I can drink a whole pot of coffee and then sleep for a day. It's just, coffee works both ways for me. I use coffee as a caffeine, keep me up, keep me going kind of thing. But also I love to sleep. So I try to get as much sleep as I can.
So sleep is key. Sleep and walks.
Yeah, sleep and walks.
Glow asks for a beginner designer. Do you recommend to start at a small studio or an ad agency? What about freelancing in the beginning? And if you do go to a studio or an ad agency to kind of learn the ropes, how long should you stay there? Because we've heard that sometimes it's good to stay at a place, for a couple of years and then move on. But like, what do you advise?
These are great questions. Honestly, it's take what you can get as a beginning designer. I haven't been in the full-time arena in a long while, so I don't really know exactly what's going on in that. But I mean, I'm sure there are certain things that are just that don't change. But I'd say whatever opportunity you can get, take it. I mean, look, I'm going to tell you based on my experience, but this is just how it worked for me. But if you can get an internship or a job at an ad agency, do it. It is a boot camp. I learned so much from working under pressure that I feel like I can tackle anything now. I still get stressed and I still, get pressured and stuff, but I've been through so many trenches and so many situations working in advertising that people would never understand it unless they worked in advertising. And it's funny because it's, people can say, oh, well, yeah. You wouldn't know unless you worked my job. No, really. If you've never worked in advertising, you don't know. It's insane. It's really crazy. And from working in advertising, it's prepared me for anything. If you can succeed in advertising, it's not for everyone. And if it's not for you, that doesn't mean that's not necessarily a bad thing. Maybe you would be better in like a small design studio. I would take either, honestly. Whatever came up, I would take that opportunity. But if you could get a job at an ad agency and you are passionate and you have ambition and you want to excel in your career, get a job at an ad agency. Start as an intern and see where it takes you.
We're running over, but this is great. I mean, I could talk with you forever, and I'm sure that the audience would appreciate it, but we can't, unfortunately. But here's what we can do, though. Go on to Jamie's website, send him a message through the contact form, or connect with him on LinkedIn. Send him a message right there. You can learn more about him, what he's done, some of his work. I also posted links to his music, too, because he's part of two bands, Fossils from the Future at fossilsfromthefuture.com and allrightjr.com. But go to his website, jamievictor.com. Or you can find him on LinkedIn at Jamie Victor, and just send him a message. Jamie's one of the kindest guys, but he's one of the most hardworking guys too. So if he can't respond right away, be patient. He will. So I just want to thank you, Jamie, for taking the time to talk with us tonight and just be brutally honest about freelancing, sharing some of your wisdom, your tips and tricks. I mean, there's so much that you're learning and that you're sharing, and we're just very grateful for you. So,
well, Justin, I'm grateful for you, and I'm grateful for the opportunity. And yeah, please, if there's any other questions, you send me a message on LinkedIn or through my website. We'll send me emails, and I'll answer any questions you guys have.
All right, my friend, they stayed up to listen to you. It's good advice, good insight, and I just want to thank you again because you are amazing.
Thank you, guys. Thank you.
For more conversations with creative professionals, subscribe to the Spotlight Sessions podcast or check out the Adobe Creative Career Discord. Links are posted in the show notes, or visit adobediscord.com and click on Adobe Creative Career.